Today, I'm going to compare these two, a 2017 WRX and a second generation WRX from 2003, better known as the Bugeye. You can see why. This is a comparison that I'm very interested in because I want to see how far Subaru has come with this car, and perhaps how some of the improvements have maybe made it a bit worse. I'm going to test both of these cars on the road, and then for the sake of nostalgia, I'm going to take the Bugeye onto a local rallycross course, which you saw a sample of at the beginning, to really delve into what it's all about. But first, I want to start with this, the latest WRX. It was redesigned completely in 2015, and right off the bat, I think it looks great. The redesign extends to the interior, which lends great visibility to the driver and is very spacious. So much so that the owner of this particular one is 6'7". The front looks a bit like a Mitsubishi Evo, but I think I don't care. You start at the front and pan to the back and... Aww! They forgot to style the side of the car. Must have been a Monday. Anyway, let's kick off the road review by talking about a change to the engine that sets this one apart from previous generation WRXs.
This one, it has a twin scroll turbocharger, okay? Which is a big advantage because if you've ever driven in any of the older WRXs or STIs, you'll know that you kind of have to chase the engine up to get some real torque out of it, right? But this produces its peak torque at 2,000 RPM. So we've got 268 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, which moves you pretty effectively. Yeah, the punch in third gear is tons of fun, like a legitimate push you back in the seat feel.
Now obviously this car is much faster than the WRX that I'm comparing it to, but the thing that makes the most difference is where the torque is available. With the twin scroll turbocharger, you have access to peak torque at 2,000 RPM, which means that the drivability of the car is greatly increased. But before I continue talking about the things that I like about this car, I'm gonna get a few things out of the way, starting with this.
So, for some reason, Subaru decided to do away with the limited slip differential. That's right, this WRX does not have a limited slip differential in the rear. That's a big bummer. That really is for me. The fact that the older WRXs, I think it's 08, they stopped putting it in, it's kind of like it's a special extra thing. That's like good sports car stuff. That's good race car stuff, right? So what we have here is something that Subaru calls active torque vectoring to try and sort out the open diff wheel spin that you always get. Now, so essentially what happens is it detects a wheel is slipping, or when you're going around a corner, it will break the inside wheel. What that does is it tightens the line and it allows more torque to go to the outside wheel, simply just because of the mechanics of an open differential. Okay, so it's not actually sending more power to the wheel that has less grip. What it's doing is it's just allowing more torque to go to the other wheel by breaking the wheel that's spinning. Okay, that's annoying because that's not actually active torque vectoring. That's just a bunch of electronic garbage. That's exactly the same as what happens in my mom's Subaru Outback. Okay, same thing. Okay, now that rant is out of the way, it works really well, I'll be honest. I'm having a hard time finding a problem with it. When you're just driving around and you're on a wet surface, like in Canada here, you don't really notice the systems cutting in. It's only when you're on like a really loose surface and you stand on the gas that you start to feel the brakes being applied to separate wheels, right? You kind of hear a right, and you feel the car tighten up around the line, which prevents you from crashing, but it also kind of prevents you from having fun, right? So it makes the car go around the angle that you want in the corner very, very effectively, but it doesn't actually let you play around and have fun like the Bugeye does.
The other issue is called rev hang. What rev hang is a programmed-in emissions idea to keep the throttle body open a little bit longer than necessary when you're trying to shift from gear to gear.
So listen carefully to how long I have to wait before I can shift in a second. Okay, so 5,000 RPM. There. That's my shift in a second. That's how long I have to wait for the revs to fall far enough that I can catch the next gear and not have a lurch, right? That's stupid. I hate stupid. I'm not a fan of that at all. If I had this car, I would tune that out immediately.
Either way, let's go find a back road and try and have some fun with it.
I've got all the systems turned off as much as I could possibly turn off, and I believe that gets rid of that brake torque vectoring that is built into the system, so let's see what it feels like. Okay. Yeah, there's still that Subaru all-wheel drive just clawing through. Yeah. So much traction. Oh my God, this is a snow-covered gravel road, and it just pulls like I'm on pavement. It's unbelievable. Yeah, okay, I can tell that the diff is open when all the systems, they're not interrupting. Feels a lot like my little Subaru Impreza 2.5, but it's not a bad thing. The Subaru all-wheel drive system is still so good. A little bit of understeer there. Just fix it with the throttle and it just pulls you right through. Yep, it's still a Subaru, it's still a WRX. It still can do that same Subaru pulling you out of the corner all-wheel drive thing, which I love. So for the first time in a long time, I'm going to admit that this has a nice interior. This is the base model WRX, right? This is what I would do if I was going to get one of these, because the base now comes with a backup camera, heated seats, you know, obviously power windows and all that stuff, right? None of the other stuff that you don't need. No sunroof, right? So I can fit a helmet in here if I wanted to take it towards an autocross or something, right? This is the one that I would have. Okay, so the inside of this car is actually quite nice for a base model. The steering wheel is lovely. I actually really like the design. The shape fits my hands. Seats are comfortable, not quite as bolstered as I'd like them to be. The dashboard is good. For the first time ever, Subaru has a decent infotainment system. This touchscreen is actually pretty decent. And this little screen up front, really crisp digital quality. And it has a boost gauge, which looks really good and reacts quickly. And I can toggle through other information about the car, including kind of like all-wheel drive and what's going on with each wheel. Downshifts are okay. They're not super easy, actually. It's difficult to catch the revs exactly.
While I obviously wasn't a huge fan of the shifting in this car, I did like the suspension setup. It's very well composed, quite flat through the corners, and I did find the ride to be a little stiff, but overall wasn't actually that bad.
This is a fantastic package. I would be completely smitten to drive this car every single day. If I was going to get a car for some rallycross or for some real motorsport, I think that I would either get an STI or I would get an older WRX. This wouldn't be the thing. But for driving every day, especially if you've got snow where you live, this is a fantastic option. Because all one big package, this is still just a lovely car. And it's a lot more refined than previous generation WRXs. This is way quieter in here. Good engine note, seats are comfortable, the equipment works well. It's a great car, it really is. Okay, the Bugeye WRX. This is probably my favorite generation of WRX. It's a car that you look at and you hate at first because it's hideous, but then you realize immediately after it's not hideous and it looks amazing. All right, so it's definitely down on power from the 2017 WRX. We've got 227 horsepower and 217 pound-feet of torque. This is about 300 pounds lighter, though, than the new WRX, which isn't that much of a weight difference. It doesn't feel as fast, that's for sure, and you don't have access to torque as early, but it's a little bit more rewarding to run out the gears. And there's no such thing as rev hang in this, because in 2003, there's no emissions issue, no one cared. So you end up with a car that can shift quickly and aggressively. Speaking of the shifter, it's terrible, I'll be honest. Subaru transmissions, since the all-wheel drive system, everything's connected, you get a lot of wear and tear and stress, and it shows its age, it really does. I can feel the transmission housing kind of rocking back and forth in the tunnel when my hand's on the gear stick. And shifting gears kind of feels like you're sticking a broom handle into a basket of rocks. It's not exactly the smoothest shifter. The throws are nice and short, but it's not smooth. This is a fun car. Now, we do have a limited slip differential in the back of this car. the fact that it has an LSD as opposed to the 2017 just kind of makes me feel like the people who designed it were more interested in pleasing the enthusiast and less interested in pleasing, you know, the guy that wants to say, oh, I drive a WRX. Yeah. It's rewarding to run all the way to the red line in every gear. This is an engaging car. And it's stock. It's an all-stock Bugeye WRX. These are so hard to find. Every Subaru bro's done this up pipe and that down pipe and that side pipe and these Y pipes and that L pipe and this X pipe, and everything's messed with and probably installed improperly, and you've got blow-off valves coming out your ears and weird horns stuck in the hood. It just makes it so that you go, that guy beat that car up. It's rare to experience what this car was meant to be from the factory, because everyone's modded these things, right? Because it's easy to get a ton of horsepower out of them. So finding one in totally stock form, the owner is lucky. Okay, we're gonna go down the same back road that we took the 2017 WRX down, and I don't have to turn off the traction control because there isn't any. Oh, it rotates so quickly, right? It just wants to let the back go. Yeah, it just limit oversteers. Wonderful. And then when you apply power, it does the old Subaru claw you out of the corner thing. Down second gear. It's still a pretty responsive car. It's not like oh, then see that, then boost comes on and all of a sudden you go more sideways than you planned. That just makes it more exciting. It's a little bit unruly. But the cool thing about Subarus is that it's a full-on, like, when in doubt, flat-out situation. Because you just stand on the gas and it just pulls you out of the corner. The car responds very, very well to steering inputs on a loose surface. Okay, which, I don't know, that just kind of makes it feel very alive, right? Now, don't get me wrong, the new WRX does the same thing, but this one kind of has a little bit more of an unfiltered feel to it. It's very pure, right? With just the all-wheel drive, no traction control, nothing interfering, and a limited slip differential, it kind of ticks all of my boxes for what like a pure all-wheel drive car should be, right? This car feels like motorsport. The new WRX feels like a really nice car, okay? Getting out of the new WRX and getting into the Bugeye is like taking a restored building and chiseling away at the exterior and all the stuff that they've done to it to bring it up to the modern world, to see the underlying framework and the structure of what it's meant to be, to see the original stone, the original wood beams. This is the original stone and the original wood beams, right? It feels more pure. It feels more stripped out. If I was going to drive one of these every single day, just because of the convenience and the comfort, I'd probably go with the new one. But if I was going to convince myself to take my car onto a rallycross course, this is the one that I would have.
So as promised, I did just that.
So we're going to take this thing out and see what it's like on a proper loose surface. Today we are with Race Lab, Crazy Leo, in Ontario at Rockton Fairgrounds, and we're going to see kind of how this car reacts and what it's like, kind of to get a little bit of the nostalgia of what this car is all about. All right, the first thing you realize about driving this car on a rally course is that the seating position is fantastic. I absolutely love, whoa, sideways already, look at that. All right, loose surface is totally different than what I'm used to, which is track driving, obviously. Reactions have to be quicker. Braking, braking, braking. Turn the car in. Slide it around. See, the thing is, every time you do a lap in one of these cars, the surface is a little bit different. I'm not used to that being a thing that I have to worry about. Car in, on the power. Heel toe into second. Flick the car in. Power it out. Yep. Car in. I'm no rally driver, but this thing makes this easy, I'll be honest. Oh God, I gotta get myself a rally car, that's what I need. The problem is these are really hard to find. Second gear, power on, flat out. Sideways. Woo! Oh, it just feels like you're floating. The all-wheel drive just pulls you through. Wonderful, just wonderful. God, these are good. I need one of these. End of story, I need one.
I ran a few more laps before I let the owner have his car back, and I savored every minute of it. I didn't think that I would get hooked to loose surface driving that easily, but I did. If you have a car that you prefer to drive instead of wash, then get it out here. If not, Crazy Leo offers his own Subarus on proper mud tires for you to learn with. This type of driving requires quick reflexes and a certain amount of fearlessness. I loved getting to experience the WRX on this course. It has fast steering and the car responds well to driver input. The turbo lag made it a bit of a handful sometimes, but that really added to the experience. It felt really fast on this course, which could be due in part to the fact that anything feels fast when you are surrounded by trees. I learned as much as I could in the short time that I had with this car on the course, but more seat time is needed to get a good handle on a type of driving such as this. Crazy Leo's driving school race lab put on a great course that was well organized and well maintained. And I was lucky enough to get to watch Crazy Leo take a few lucky guests around the course in a proper race-prepped rally car, so I could see what it was supposed to look like. The Bugeye WRX came out of this day with a few new dents, but they felt more like badges of honor than damage. That's the advantage of owning an older Subaru like this. No, it's not as refined or as fast as the new WRX, but it feels like it wants to be driven hard. And when you mess up and slide into a barrier, it just shrugs its shoulders and says, "Guess you'll turn in earlier next time, eh?" By the end of the day, I liked this old Subaru so much that I immediately started looking for a used one for myself.